my name is Michaela Mavis, and I am doing my very last resource review, and I decided to do my review on the trade books. I had a really fun time reading all the books, and I thought, why not continue this? So, the very first book that I want to talk about is this book right here. It's called Same, but Different. It's by Jenny Sue Kustetsky Shaw. I apologize. I probably mispronounced that. um, but this is definitely a great beginner's book for second grade. And the reason why I chose second grade is because that's right around when they start learning about diversity. I downloaded it as an ebook, so that's why I don't have it with me. I just printed off the cover. But I think that this is such a great book to learn and to have students learn about different cultures and different environments as well. The book talks about, people around the world and how they do things differently, but in a sense, it's all the same. And it brings a sense of unity together. At one point, there was a little boy, probably like around the United States, who climbed a tree to his treehouse. And then on the second page is a little girl who is climbing a tree in, I'm pretty sure, probably like Brazil or something. And she says, I climb trees too, but different. So I really like that idea. That was like the whole entire book was just, I did this, but different. I think that is such a cute little thing, and it's really important for students and kids nowadays to learn, especially like in America. We are all, different, but we're all the same. I like the whole idea of learning about different cultures and different communities because I believe that the more that a student or a person knows, the better and less bullying will happen, and hopefully we can try to get rid of racism. That would be great. And I think this book will help with that. The standard that I chose for this book would be second grade standard 2, which is geography. It talks about people and communities manage, modify, and depend on their environment, which that is basically this whole entire book. You know, what they do is a little bit different in some areas depending on their environment, but in this sense, they all do the same thing. Now, one of the activities I would love to do with a second grade class is do a world day or a culture day. I think to travel the world and look at different cultures, like different foods, different music, different outfits, different housing would be such a cool idea. Maybe play some different music, look at different instruments. Maybe the dance moves are a little bit different too, but we all do the same thing. So using Culture Day or even bringing in somebody from a different culture. I know, Pueblo has a huge Native American culture, and I think it would be really cool if we had like a guest speaker or like a grandparent who has a lot of knowledge with their culture and have them come in and talk about them and maybe perform a dance or play some of the instruments. I think that would just be so amazing and awesome. Or even have an exchange student come in and talk about their culture and where they're from and how they learn. Maybe their schools are different. So just having a culture day or a world day would be such a fun activity for students to learn. And I think the whole lesson that we can get behind that is even if we are do things different or we, have different feelings about different things, in the sense we are all the same and we are all living. Now, the second book that I want to talk about is more advanced for second grade. It is this I Am Albert Einstein book. It is by Brad Meltzer. And I went to Barnes and Noble because I wanted to find some different books for my future classroom, and I wanted to look at stuff that will inspire me for my lesson plans and all that good stuff. And I came across this book. Now, I love Albert Einstein. I have like 4 or 5 books on him. He is by far my favorite person ever. I am so intrigued by him. So, of course, this caught my eye. Now, I didn't only just buy this book, I also bought this I Am Abraham Lincoln book as well. I love these books because they have different life lessons in them. Like in this book, it talks about how Albert Einstein was different. He had a big head when he was born, and his mom was a little like wary about it, or he didn't talk normally, and in a sense, he was different, but his difference made him who he is, and his curiosity made him Albert Einstein, which I love. Now, this Abraham Lincoln book had a little bit of a different lesson to be taught. This one was more about if you believe in what is right and you believe in justice, that will always win. Abraham Lincoln at one point in this book does get into a fight, and he got into a fight with some kids because he didn't believe what they were doing was right. So he talked about that and how the kids didn't play fair, but he didn't want to back down because he knew this was the right thing to do. So I liked this book because this was Abraham Lincoln. This was the man who he was. He did everything for what he believed was right. Now, Albert Einstein, this one is a little bit different than this one, the lesson to be learned. But I really like this one, and I would have to say that the standard that I chose for this book, for the Albert Einstein book, would be second grade standard 4 civics. It talks about identify and compare multiple ways that people understand and resolve conflicts in different ways. Now, the reason why I chose that one is because in this book, it does talk about how, Albert Einstein was made fun of. It talks about how he actually, he failed one of his college classes. He actually failed physics, which is really funny. This man failed physics. But I think that even though he did fail a class, he never gave up, and that was his resolve. That's what he did with his conflict. He didn't give up, and he didn't give up on himself, and he didn't give up on his curiosity and his mind, which in the end made him who he is. So that's why I chose the standard for this book. Now, the activity that I would love to do with this is maybe possibly have an Albert Einstein Day. I would love to do that on Pi Day, which is March 14th, because that was his birthday, and I would love for the students to come dressed as Albert Einstein, maybe have their crazy hair. I would like them to, sit down. We can work on some different worksheets, and while we're working on worksheets, we can listen to the violin, which he does talk about in here. He did love the violin. I would like for the students to maybe somehow create a compass, because that's what inspired him to be who he is. And I would even like to talk about why he was so important to history. And it's not just because of his crazy, scientific matter and his equations, because that would be kind of a little too much for second grade, I believe. It's a little hard right there. But at one point he did almost save the world and save the United States, because he did talk to the president saying, hey, we can't have nuclear war. We had nuclear war, the world's going to end. So he basically kind of stopped war in a sense. So I want to teach students about that, and I want them to open up their curiosity and their minds, and I want them to learn why he was such a huge figure in history and why he is significant in our history today. So that's the little activities I would love to do with these two books. This one is definitely for beginners. It's really easy to read, but it has great meaning and diversity. This one is definitely a little more advanced. There's kind of some hard vocabulary words in here, but I think this would be such an awesome book for the students to read, especially those students who think critically and have problem solving minds. Those are the ones that are going to do really good in science. So I love these two books, and I hope you can read them someday. Thank you.